why let's get over the hurdles, get outside your head and into your body. And really that's the beauty with somatics. It is all about the body, and we're all so busy and we all have our heads in the phone and we all have everything else that we don't even spend the time to just, touch ourselves, and not necessarily in a sexual way. This can just even start with, rubbing your hand up your inner arm, maybe taking an ice cube to your inner arm. How do these things feel for you? And that's what inspired me to do the intimacy deck. So I'm in the process of creating a card deck of just somatic tips, and so it's intimacy, right? So if I lift a card every day, and it's just taking that moment for myself to be, okay, how can I connect better with myself today? And then also I decided to do one for couples, so into you see. So, maybe you both place a hand on each other's heart, or, different categories, belly and breath, pleasure mapping, which part of your body comes alive with touch. It's just fascinating. And I think when you kind of break it down to a simplistic format for people, that really does kind of help talk about it, and remove some of the stigma.
You are listening to the Say Something Serious podcast, a podcast about best friends and big topics. Thanks for joining.
Good morning. Welcome back to Say Something Serious. Today we have a special guest, Orla Maguire. Orla is a visionary entrepreneur, beauty industry expert, and advocate for women's confidence and pleasure. Orla started her professional career in high fashion as sittings editor for Cosmopolitan magazine. In 2016, she launched Lash Beauty, a go-to brand for high-performance lash products. Her newest creation, Lubify, is a high-quality lubricant designed to elevate intimacy and pleasure. Orla is committed to empowering women to embrace their fullest potential. She's an intimacy coach who offers embodied somatic techniques, connecting both the mind and the body. Orla is also a proud mother of 4. Orla, thank you for being here.
Thank you. So fabulous to be here with you both.
We're so excited to have you. Maybe you could just start by telling us a little bit about where you are now in your career. I mean, you have covered so much, addressing mind and body, wellness, empowerment. You can tell us about where you are right now.
It's funny because life really is a journey, so I think my journey really kicked off when I was much younger and working in magazines and just constantly working with models and makeup artists and just creating beauty all the time, whether it was for the pages of magazines, whether it was ad campaigns for clothing brands. It was just very much a life that was immersed in creating gorgeous images and helping people look good, feel good, and encouraging people to, you too can be this way. So, especially with my journey at Cosmo, where really we talk a lot about the fun, fearless female. And I think during those years, it kind of let me grow some balls, if you may, because I just felt like now we don't have to conform to things, especially during my tenure there. It became a point where it wasn't just celebrities. I mean, it wasn't just supermodels on the cover. Celebrities were becoming, people that we looked up to. The kind of ideas of beauty were becoming more real. It was acceptable to be a little overweight. It was acceptable to have natural gray hair. All these things were starting to become normal. And I think through that journey, it really was like allowing us to have our voice and be fun, fearless females, because at the core of it all, that's what we should be if we aren't already. And I think it was during that time that really I spent so much time on set doing beauty shoots and figuring that when the lashes became alive, the face really, kind of jumped, confidence kind of stepped up. Women, I could just see the transformation. So that was when I decided to do a line of products focused specifically on the lashes, because I felt like for a lot of brands at the time, they'd full face of makeup, whatever it was, concealers, shadows, lip pencils, eyes, but the mascara was like an afterthought. Nobody was really focusing in on mascara. So that's what I wanted to do with Lash Beauty, because I felt like our lashes were our secret weapon that we don't even know we have. So that was what created me to start a brand. And then it was just through my journey with Lash that I'm, in stores, traveling the country, doing demonstrations with the brand, talking to real women all the time, and just kind of seeing where their confidence dips were, what made them feel more beautiful inside and out. And that continued my journey in kind of creating more products and wanting to create more products to help women feel that level of confidence that we all should feel with, except sometimes things get in the way and our confidence takes a dip and it's terrible. So I want to help women look good, feel good.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, it is wild, like how quickly, if you just are feeling low, like a little bit of lash care can definitely pick you up, right?
Absolutely.
It took a lot of forethought too. I mean, lashes are everything now, right? And I've always been a makeup girly. I love makeup. Also grew up probably from much too young an age reading Cosmo every month. That's probably why I have so much confidence and why I'm so kinky. But they were like an afterthought, kind of like the brows were. Like you did a lot of stuff back then, but then you like threw on some mascara and like really didn't line your eyebrows. And now girls want to look, like what do they call it? Vanilla girl aesthetic is really in, where you make your face almost like completely natural, and then it's like huge eyelashes. Like that is the moment. And you started this like before all of that happened, so you were like in the right place at the right time.
Thank you. And what I felt I did differently was address lashes like our hair, because, at the end of the day, the issues we might have with our hair are the similar issues we might have with our lashes, but nobody was making that correlation. So that's why I wanted to kind of bring all the right tools. So the right curler, the right wands, specifically the wands, because it really is to make the best mascara. It's all about the marriage of the wand, the wiper as the brush comes out of the bottle, the formula. It all has to work in harmony. And I just felt like so many wands were getting clumpy and big and, delivering these crazy statistics about what the performance would be, but were they living up to it, So I wanted something that really did deliver. And the whole idea with our full control mascara is that step one, it's like a tight line wand, and it like gets right into the root, because I say, like, when you go for a great blow dry, it's all about getting right into the root and getting that lift. And it's the same with your lashes. You really want to get right into the root, get that lift, and then you're setting yourself up for lash success. So
yeah, that's what I'm wearing today.
Oh,
I
good.
really liked how they felt strong. Like a lot of wands that you use, it's hard to describe, but like they're not substantial enough. And so you kind of feel like they're like wiggling on your lash, but these are like what do you call the little prickly things that come out of the wand? Do they have a name?
The fibers, the hairs.
The fibers, okay. So the fibers of this are substantial and strong. So when you get in there, it's not like fluffing around. It's like really, it's more like the difference between like, say, a paddle brush for your hair, to keep that metaphor going, and one of those detangling brushes. Like a lot of mascara is using that detangling brush thing where it's like kind of loose fibers and they're trying to like get it all the way up. But this is like it's strong. So you're getting every piece, right? Yeah, which absolutely. I loved.
And we spent a long time tooling the wands on both sides to make sure that they were going to deliver, and I think the key is like getting right into the root. So with the tight line on step one, it really does let you go in. And then step two is more of a silicone wand that kind of lets you coat root to tip, and then you can keep adding for more volume.
The pink side is the first side. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, step one, and step two is the silicone one that's going to allow you the drama. And I love because it's a soft formula, so you can keep building. You can just keep applying the step two and step one all day.
Yeah.
A lot of times,
and it's
amazing.
Thick. Yeah.
It's the only thing that doesn't like pull my lashes together and make them like little triangles. You know what I mean?
Oh, cool. Thank you.
That's perfect.
Yeah. I really like it. I cannot get on board with fake lashes. I like my sensory issues. Like I feel them on my eyes all day and they drive me insane. And I'm always going, like I'm obsessed with Macy's. I go to Macy's more than a person should. And I'm always going to the brands and being like, give me your like least dramatic, or not dramatic, but like, I always feel like mascaras are doing too much. Like I have, not to brag, but excellent lashes. Like they are already very long. They're already very curled. And I would, buy these luxury mascara brands, and they'd be trying to do too much. Right. And then I'd end up like a cat or spider webs. And so I like, Chanel or Clinique, Estee Lauder. Like I'd always be like, what is your mascara that's trying to do the least? Right. Because I don't want all this nonsense on my eyes. I understand if I didn't have great lashes, if I had really short lashes or really thin lashes, maybe I would need all that. But some of them are just too much. Like you end up just looking like you have a black hood over your eyes because they're all like thick and clumping together. I have way too much to say about mascara, but I'm sure you do too.
Like one of my favorite items as well is our little styler brush. It's like what everyone should have, because after you apply it, it allows you to kind of go through and tweak and style and extend. And if you want more of a wingtip, you can kind of go in and just keep, adding more definition to the outer edge of your lashes. So we consider ourselves the lash authority because we got you covered. And for people who don't like too much false lash, like our number one, which we call our baby lash, our bridal lash, it's a 3/4 strip. So you're never going to feel too full and too heavy of a lash with it, because it just goes from like 1/3 the way out. And I always say, whether I do that lash or just a couple of coats of the mascara, I can get the same effect. Because my lashes aren't bad, but for, some people whose lashes are thinning, especially with age, the Lash one, it is one of our top sellers because it isn't a full, heavy, strip lash.
Do you use glue or magnet?
Glue. We have a lash adhesive, which we were just actually sold out of until we just restocked. And a makeup artist just emailed me the other day and said that she works a lot in Neiman's and she saw it's back in stock and she's thrilled because she couldn't live without it. So it's a favorite among makeup artists, which is always nice to hear, So.
Yeah. I'm going to do my mock-up today, I guess, for my makeup artist. And I'm going to bring your baby lashes with me.
Oh, good.
And have her try it and then wear it throughout the day and see if I can stand it. Because maybe I've just tried like really bad ones in the past and I've been like.
Well, these we always recommend for brides because, your pictures, you're going to want to be able to look at your photos in 10, 20, 30 years time and them not date. So, the Visionary Lash 01 is just a very basic, elegant, simple lash. So it won't look like too much. So give it a try.
Send us pictures.
I'll send a pic. Yeah. I'll add one to the podcast.
Cool.
See how it turned out. Tell us how you transitioned from, not that there's not a strong correlation, but beauty and sex.
Lashes to lube, I always like to say, I think it was just from being in store and talking to customers and realizing as well that, menopause was starting to kind of rise the crest of the wave. And I started to see some products in store that were specifically geared towards women. And I was like, wow, it really is time that these products were available, that we didn't just have to go to the male aisle and look at the poor selection of the offerings there for men and make them adapt for us. So, I kind of thought, as I'm evolving and aging and loving the whole thing of helping women feel good and feel confident, this is another issue that we kind of don't talk about, we don't address when we're in stores beautifying ourselves. God forbid you mention the word sex or you're having intimacy issues with your partner. It's just, too taboo. And I wanted to kind of pierce the veil of shame, bring it out into the open by especially, bringing a product to the space that could scream beauty, elegance, decadence, but at the end of the day, it's a lubricant for women. It is for intimacy, and but I wanted to kind of up the ante with the category and almost marry skincare, fragrance, and sexual wellness. So it still would be, a beauty product, but a beauty product that's really going to help you. So I spent about a year in development. And then as I was working on the product and having the conversations, and really the conversations became about women not having the confidence to discuss with their partner what their issues were in the bedroom or in the relationship. So that's when I decided to become a somatic intimacy coach, because I felt that there were too many people. And at the end of the day, in the conversations, I was like, well, how are you with you? You know what I mean? How are you with, discussing intimacy, or even allowing yourself to think about intimacy? So, you can sit and blame your partner and blame lots of other things, but let's just start on the inside, of ourselves. So along with the brand, with the lubricant in tandem, the somatic coaching, just kind of started to open up these conversations. And especially as women were getting more vocal, as they were hitting perimenopause and menopause, and the conversations continued to grow, I started to really enjoy having the conversations and realizing that, wow, once people talk about it and kind of realize that it's not just their problem, and their problem isn't really a problem, it's just something that they can overcome by talking about it, that really started to kind of take on legs of its own and became a whole other branch in my career that I've been enjoying immensely.
I mean, you found the moment. You found the perfect moment to do this. I feel like right now there's a revolution of women saying, like, hold on a second. There has been no research about, women's health and menopause and the things that happen to our bodies. There has been no really public discussion about it for many years. And I think right now there's this huge movement happening with women saying, like, this is what's happening. This is what we need to address. We're not going to slap just a supplement patch on it and not talk about it. There are other things we can do. And you have something to offer here in saying, this is a normal part of our cycle of being a woman, of aging, even having children. Things change, right? Our bodies are constantly changing, and we need to have some tools to grow with that, so that we don't feel stuck or embarrassed to ask our doctor, what's happening.
Right, exactly. I was in QVC in London, the shopping channel, in their studios in London a couple of years ago. And in the women's bathroom, there was a drawstring bag, a whole wall of drawstring bags that you could go and take a bag, and it would be a change of clothes. It might be deodorant, fresh underwear, everything you might need if you were having a bad day, if your period came, or, whatever. And I just thought, wow, this is so fabulous that they're addressing women's needs in such a big company like that. And I feel like now here, in the US, we're starting to adapt. But, it's taken a while. And, we know fine well that, there's plenty of products for men. There's plenty of research done, Viagra, for example, like the amount of money that was spent on developing that,
Right.
and now all the other drugs in that realm. It's compared to what's been spent on women's issues, it's night and day. So, I'm so happy that now there's a lot of people speaking out. There's a lot of influencers. There's a lot of brands. It's a whole busy space now. There's books. There's, documentaries. There's a lot of info for us, which is great.
Yeah. And also, if you walk into the drugstore, if you are, looking for something, you are not going to find something that looks or smells like this, right? This is beautiful. It smells beautiful, it feels beautiful. We have the right to have this feel special and,
Yes, absolutely. As I was saying to my sister, you put cream on your cuticles every day. Why do you not put cream, moisturized down there? And that's kind of the whole thing as well, is that why should it be sterile or clinical? Why can't it be gorgeous? We spend lots of money on our face routines, on our skincare routine. And, I always do love fragrance. And I just thought, why does it have to be, there's products out there that are kind of cheap and chintzy, like vanilla, banana, mango. And I just thought, let's elevate it. We deserve more. We deserve, we treat ourselves with the reverence that we deserve. So let's, have beautiful products. Let the packaging be beautiful, that can be in our purse or our luggage or beside our bed, not something that has to be hidden away. So that was my goal. And I love packaging. I love, the touch and feel of a product before I even get to experience it. So I wanted to kind of give women that experience of pride, that when you're buying this product and you open it in the box, it's very Hermes inspired, with a lot of, beautiful print, deep colors and gold foil, and just, it's a special product for you. And whether you're using it alone or using it with a partner, it was going to give you an experience. That was ultimately the goal.
It does. It looks like a high-end moisturizer. And I love that it pumps.
Right.
That's so critical.
Yeah.
I am normally a water-based lubricant girl. I'm a lesbian. I just feel like that's important to note. And the reason I usually stay away from silicone is because so much of the low-end silicone is very tacky. Mm-hmm. Like, it can get, like, the more friction that you use with it, the more it gets, like, kind of tapey a little bit. And you're, like, constantly having to apply more because it gets thicker and thicker and thicker. It's like you're making a whipped cream, you know what I mean? Yeah. But this doesn't do that. It feels like natural, right. Almost like it really, and it, my partner noted, we used it this morning so that we could be prepared for this conversation. And the mixing of the natural and the artificial happened very naturally. Usually you can kind of feel the difference, and there's almost like a oil and water thing that happens between lube. And, often we use these things, especially I think as women get older, like you said, and go through changes. You need this at the beginning, but you do still make your own natural lubricants throughout the process. And a lot of them don't mix well. And this there was like no transition to it. Like they really mix together beautifully.
Good. Thank you.
And I loved it. I love the smell too. It's like, it's not natural. It is like a luxury smell, but it doesn't smell fake either. Right. Like you were saying, like it's not like a candy sugar, whatever. Right. It's got like a real, like as if like, the how they say, we say women taste like strawberries and smell like rain. It's got that vibe where it's like the best smelling woman and best tasting woman you've ever had.
Thank you. And to your point, like, especially because I came from eye-focused brands, I've always been really, really careful about ingredients, because if you're doing anything with the eye area, it has to be, ophthalmologically tested. Everything has to be really safe. And, we use no nano ingredients, no carbon blacks, everything for Lash starts vegan, cruelty-free. So then, transitioning to sex care, really, I wanted to kind of have the same level of, thought and care put into the ingredients. So, there are a lot of silicones out there, but we only use the finest silicone. And it's the same ingredients that, you're going to have in a primer that you might put on your face under makeup. So it's, it's hyaluronic acid, it's vitamin E, it's squalene, it's, a really beautiful silicone. And then, of course, the fragrance, they're not synthetic scents, they're essential oils. So, like the equivalent of FDA approved, it's the scents come from verified oil manufacturers, so they're really pure. So, and then I am going to roll out a water-based product because, to your point, silicone doesn't suit everyone and fragrance doesn't suit everyone. So right now the next product is going to be Lotus. It's going to be a silicone base, and it's going to have a different scent, an aquatic, gorgeous unisex scent that I'm so excited about. And then I'm going to do Nude, which is unscented for people who really just rather not have a scent. And then I'm going to do the same three in a water-based formula. So, to appeal to people who do
look out for it.
Yeah. So we'll have you covered. Excellent. At all angles. So
I'm thinking about like how you spent your career in beauty and high fashion, in like giving these beautiful, the lashes to women, and now you have the lube. At what point did you think like there's something else that I need to get into here? Like what led you to doing the embodied coaching, the intimacy coaching?
I think really, fascination around the whole topic. It was just, when I'd meet people and start talking, and I'm very open and easy, and I've realized that people do warm and open easy to me because, I'm not ashamed to talk about things. I don't really feel guilty and then just realizing that that is something that is unique, that I have almost a gift to talk to people that a lot of people just are embarrassed or nervous or unable to open up. I thought, how can I make people more comfortable? And I didn't even know such a course existed. And I was like, I didn't necessarily want to go back to school and do a degree and become a sexologist and all of that. But I was like, well, how can I kind of figure out to get myself certified in something that will bring wealth to other women. So, I found the somatic intimacy coaching, and I spent a year doing that, and it was really such a fabulous course. And a lot of people doing the course were, therapists and just wanted to kind of have that add on. For me, I was doing it more from a brand standpoint. Like I have the brand, but I want to be able to kind of educate women and talk about everything, as well as providing them with a solution. I wanted to kind of be able to do the talk therapy with them, as well as saying, here, go and try it, but let's talk about why let's get over the hurdles, get outside your head and into your body. And really, that's the beauty with somatics. It is all about the body, and we're all so busy, and we all have our heads in the phone, and we all have everything else that we don't even spend the time to just touch ourselves, and not necessarily in a sexual way. This can just even start with rubbing your hand up your inner arm, maybe taking an ice cube to your inner arm. How do these things feel for you? And that's what inspired me to do the intimacy deck. So I'm in the process of creating a card deck of just somatic tips, and so it's intimacy, right? So if I lift a card every day, and it's just taking that moment for myself to be, okay, how can I connect better with myself today? And then also I decided to do one for couples. So into you see. So, maybe you both place a hand on each other's heart, or, different categories, belly and breath, pleasure mapping, where which part of your body comes alive with touch. It's just fascinating. And I think when you kind of break it down to a simplistic format for people, that really does kind of help talk about it, and remove some of the stigma. So
Yeah, I think there's a real misconception also about what intimacy is. And I think you're covering that like with the card decks and with the work that you've gotten into, and saying like it's not just about like the end game or like what's at the end of the, experience. There is a missed opportunity, I think, a lot of times for connection, emotional, embodied connection that people are missing because they're saying like, oh my God, it's late and I'm tired and I've got to do this, or whatever. Like this is the way I think I hear a lot of women that I speak to talking about intimacy. And you're saying like, hold on a second, like pause, connect with yourself, connect with your partner. There is beauty here that I think a lot of people are missing out on.
right.
So I love that you're bringing that. And I cannot wait to see the card deck. I think that will be so fun.
Because I think there's so much pressure, especially on women to orgasm, right? And they, so then they get in their head, and, so men feel that they're not adequate, or so partners can feel that they're not adequate. Women can feel that they're broken or not working. Something's not working in my anatomy. And it's just trying to kind of reacquaint women with themselves, that it isn't just all about that. It's like, you will end up getting there, but let's just, see how you get on with yourself. Let's just awaken your own body through lots of different practices. And then, instead of just, there's always the race to the finish line, I feel.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I love what you say about, piercing the veil of shame. Like, I think a lot of women and people in general are not even aware of like kind of the shame we carry around talking about these things, or even experimenting with these things, and saying like, here, this is just an opportunity to try slowly and gently to get past some of these things that we hesitate on.
yeah. I
It's a
mean,
nice
you
opening.
talk to women and there's so many of us carrying around trauma, deep-rooted trauma from childhood, from just a different experience. Maybe it's from a previous relationship. Maybe it's just something that, some confidence that we're lacking in ourselves, that it just all builds and then becomes this shame around the topic, that we just get to the point where it's like embarrassment and, low self-esteem. And it's just sad because, I love to talk about the divine feminine energy. And when we're really in touch with ourselves, we're at our most creative, we're the best version of ourselves, we're the best company to our partner, to our kids, to our colleagues. We're in our best version of ourselves when we are fulfilled in every way. And I just think that there are so many of us that haven't got to explore that through deep-rooted shame and guilt and lack of knowledge at the end of the day as well. So I'm here to kind of demystify that, and by bringing to the shelf beautiful products that kind of, now you can have the conversation, like if somebody asks, well, what is it for? And now you're able to say, well, it's if I put moisturizer on my face, why can't I, put product on down there? It's all about preserving our elasticity in our skin, making sure our skin is nourished. So it's just another level of skincare and self-care,
God's work.
Thank you.
I mean, I like in the lesbian community, we talk, a lot about how shocking the state of heterosexual women is. Like the paradigm around whether or not they even expect pleasure from sexual experiences is just wild to us. And like, it does take two to tango. I think like part of it is how we're raising women. Part of it is how we're teaching men to relate to women. And it just there's a bottleneck there that like, you talk to a group of us and we're like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like you're 43 and you've never orgasmed. Like that blows my mind. Like, how does he get you to keep coming back? I don't understand the motivation structure here. It's like really mind-blowing, but that's what they need. I mean, these women need to hear you deserve pleasure, you deserve to be satisfied, and that it starts with you. It starts with you understanding yourself and your own body, and then feeling worthy of that, and then getting men on board, or leaving them behind, honestly.
Honestly, exactly. I mean, as especially heterosexual women, a lot of us are mothers. You're so used to always giving, giving, giving. You know what I mean? That you just forget about yourself. It becomes less important. And then again, just it's taking the time to self-explore. And that's the main reason I did the cards, was that, take that few minutes every morning, whether it's, whether you're in the shower, whether you're getting ready for your day, or if it's at the end of your day or during, just kind of take a time out for yourself. Doesn't mean you have to go to the gym, to the yoga class. You can just do it when you get out of bed. Just take a card off your bedside table. And what does that mean to you today? To just, trace your fingers along your collarbone, put your hand on your belly and your hand on your heart and see what the connection feels like. Just doing those small little simple steps. And then of course the idea of having it for your partner too is to engage your significant other in helping make sure that both of you are on a pleasure journey together and can
100%
talk about
being
it.
a woman is traumatic.
Yeah.
Just from birth. And I totally understand how so many women end up feeling disembodied.
Right.
Like when your body is made into an object by the outside world, by the media, when people start talking about your body in ways that make you feel scared at like disturbingly young ages, when we sexualize 14-year-old girls, when we like all of the things that it is to be a woman, your mind often, many women's minds starts to be like, I want to withdraw from this. Like, I don't want to feel the fear and all of the things that come with being an object of desire. because it happens too young and it happens too violently in the country that we all live in. And when you get to a safe place, when you have the career, the husband, the job, and all of these other things, and your life gets into place, and you say, like, I want to be embodied. I don't have to be afraid anymore. But it's something that gets embedded in you so young that something like somatics is like the path back, right? You say, like, I'm safe now. Like, I can feel my whole body. I don't need to put up all this armor because I'm no longer a 14-year-old girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's like the book, The Anatomy of Arousal. You know what I mean? So many of us we're not familiar with our own body parts, because women's body parts, they're just now starting to talk about. And I've attended so many classes and lectures where they have, the vagina, and they talk about the labia minora, majora, the clitoris, and some people are just like, wow, I didn't even know all of these body parts and what was what. So it's kind of education, just educating women and educating our daughters, and just making sure that, people are aware. They know their own body, and they know what they like and don't like, and can be more vocal and confident in looking for it without the shame and the guilt. So,
yeah, and I think the somatic practices, the cards, something small every day is a really nice way to desensitize the people who are feeling like Erin, like you said, like a little bit traumatized from growing up as a young woman and all of the expectations and what we think we need to present to the world like, and what we feel like we need to turn off because of that. It's like a slow opening to self-exploration and building up a tolerance for it is a little bit uncomfortable, I think, if you're someone who has been one way for so long. Then just like that, it's like a little door, right? Like just a little bit every day. Try something new, feel a different part of your body, connect with yourself, go in, right? I think a lot of us are just constantly looking outward or wondering what is the expectation, not like what feels right for me. How do I feel connected in my own body, and how do I feel safe? And then you're going to have a whole different experience of life. Like the more connected you become over time,
Exactly. Because, our mothers weren't telling us, in school, they weren't educating us really. So just so many people are only starting, later. And that's why it's kind of like threading softly with the products, with the cards, to just, meet their inquisition and help them explore it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It starts with getting women to have the realization that it is supposed to feel good.
Right.
Like, it's wild how many women are walking around on this planet without that information. Like in church, I mean, you sound Irish.
Yeah.
Probably went to Catholic church.
Yeah.
Like, no one ever mentions to you, like, oh, by the way, like, and sex is supposed to feel good for you, right? Men know that it's supposed to feel good for them, but it's not even. It doesn't enter your consciousness as a woman a lot of times, which is wild.
Exactly. That's it. It's the guilt around pleasure, so that's the whole journey I'm on, is to demystify that, to just kind of pleasure is your own, and by not exploring it yourself, you're only holding yourself back. So, that's the first thing when I'm with a couple or with somebody who's kind of complaining about their partner. It's like, well, how can your partner know where and how if you're not able to guide them? And because we're all different, what is pleasurable for you might not be pleasurable for me. So we have to 100% guide our partner, and if we don't know, then we can't guide. So
and the lack of women like you in creating these spaces and having these conversations is the vacuum that means, like, the only thing is porn, which is so dangerous. Right? Like, both men and young women, especially today with smartphones, like, the only place they get to talk about, think about, and visualize what sex is supposed to be like is through pornography, which is a wild, unrealistic fantasy that has nothing to do with how it feels for women, but you wouldn't know that by the audio backtrack, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why, when I started the journey of intimacy, it was the somatics that appealed to me because, excuse me, that really where it all begins is just within yourself and, of your own body. So, and nothing you're ever going to see on porn or anything like that is ever going to kind of take you on that journey.
Right. That does not encourage
No.
self-connection or groundedness.
No.
It's a performance. It's fake.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But I think, this we could do a whole episode on like how that impacts young men's expectations of women though. Like we could spend hours on that.
Right.
And women's expectations of themselves.
Right.
Like I didn't I finally had sex with my boyfriend and I didn't scream in ecstasy the moment his penis touched my vagina. There must be something wrong with me. And it's like, well, that's just not how it works. Right. But if your mom's not telling you and your aunt's not telling you and your best friend's not telling you, you just think, I think I did it wrong. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because on TV, on porn, like as soon as a woman sees a man, she's like, and it's like, that's not, it is about the somatics. It's about the intimacy. It's about the buildup. It's about feeling good in your body. It's about having pleasure in other places. And none of that is in porn.
Right.
And
that's why, even I was going to say with this, why scent was important, because it's all of our senses that can be, alive during intimacy. And, what you see in porn and what, so many young people are brought up to believe it's just like, yes, wham, bam, you know what I mean? But really it's setting the mood, having the scent, having the candles, having the lighting, having all those things that are just going to kind of awaken us from within is so important. So.
Do you feel like you're being met with curiosity? Like this is a pivot from what you've been doing. A lot of people know your brand and what you've been doing. Do you feel like women are like excited when you tell them what you're doing? Like they want to know more. They want
100%. And I think coming from Cosmo, kind of having that fun, fearless female background, whereas a lot of the brands, and when I meet other brand owners in this landscape, they're more, coming from a gynecology standpoint, maybe they're products that do have active ingredients like estrogen or other things. Whereas I'm really just coming at it for fun, for the sake of pleasure, for the sake of fun, and bringing you back to you, So I think some of the other brands are very sterile and clinical and aren't given that message. So, having the background in magazines and beauty kind of sometimes makes me more relatable for women, because ultimately I'm here for you. I'm here to help you feel good. Remind you that all you need is a little mascara and a little lube, and your night can be great, So
there are a lot of people right now, because of the disturbing reality that we live in, and the Diddy trial going on, figuring out that like baby oil is not it. Right? That is not the same thing. Right. That there are specific products that you're supposed to use. And that if you use the wrong products, you will get infections and you can have medical problems. You can get UTIs. You can get all of these things. And a conversation we would never be having nationally if there weren't like literally women up on the stand being like, well, this is the medical problem that soaking me in baby oil for 5 days in a row did to me, which is disturbing, but a good place to say, lube is important, but use the right one. Because your vagina deserves care.
Exactly.
We have all the explicit toggles on our podcast, so we can say anything we want.
Well, that's why I coin it as well, skincare for down there. You know what I mean? Because it is the same nourishing ingredients that you would put in your skincare routine for down there. So it is important, 100%.
It does. I couldn't figure it out until you said it. It feels like your most high-end primer.
Right.
That's what it feels like.
Right. Yeah. I switch between velvety and silky, because to me it's it's all of that, you know, it's a beautiful, beautiful scent and feel.
Yeah.
And we deserve it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
who needs sticky lube? Ugh.
Oh God.
You know, so
Right. And you know, we also have a lot of, you know, if you are paying attention at all, which it's up to you, to what's happening down there. We are shaving, we are waxing, we're doing all these things that create a lot of irritation.
mm-hmm.
You know, a friend of mine and I always joke about how like it's almost inevitable, because if you do a full shave, like a full bare situation, it's probably because you're getting laid tonight, which actually really exasperates the issue. Is that you take it down and then you add a lot of moisture and friction, and so your skin is really, really irritated. And the fact that like this product you can safely use this to deal with some of that dryness and rawness that comes from like after the party,
Right.
and not risk getting BV or a UTI or any of the things that you don't want to just like take your scented moisturizer. Like you can't do that. Most
Yeah.
women know that. Like
Right.
there are sugars, there are pH problems. Like you have to be really careful about what you put down there. And the
Yeah.
fact that this is also like moisturizing, soothing, has essential oils. Like it's not just for current care, but aftercare.
Right, exactly. And even, you know, a lot of people are on medication, you know, our underwear isn't just 100% cotton anymore. There are other outside factors as well that are, you know, kind of altering the state down there. So, you know, now more than ever is when we need to take care of it, you know, and just kind of give it the same loving attention that we give to every other part of our body.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because we all know the consequences, right?
exactly.
Like the razor bumps and if you're not treating it
Yeah.
well, she'll tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then you'll be off the
Exactly.
court for a
Yeah.
week.
Should we
I
pull
love
some
that.
cards?
Oh, sure, yes.
Yeah.
When you decided to transition into lube, was there pushback? Were there people in your life that were like scared for you to talk about something that so many people have so much shame about?
Yes, absolutely. Um, and then you realize very quickly that you realize the embarrassment is on them. And once I saw that the embarrassment's on you, not on me, I was like, I have no issue with this. So I hope that you can get over your issue with it, but it's on you, you know? So that's the thing. I think as we
Was
get older,
your
close out the noise.
Did your partner ever give you like parameters, like, okay, go talk about sex on the internet, but don't talk about me? Like, was there any fear around that?
I'm fabulously single right now, so
Oh, okay.
I just answer to myself, which is pretty cool. Maybe if I had a partner, I mightn't be on this journey right now. But you know, I think I've learned over the years to just go with my gut.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
bet you, do you date?
I do. Yeah,
Are you straight?
I am. Yeah,
Yeah. I bet men's eyes when you're sitting down at dinner and they're like, oh, what do you do for a living? And you're like, oh, I'm an intimacy coach. They're like,
yeah. It definitely
weeds out the weak.
weeds out the weak and can be a conversation stopper or starter. And
Yeah.
it's so I'm so used to it now that I just get pure amusement out
Oh,
of
I
it,
bet.
you know?
I would
So
love it.
Oh,
I
that must be so fun to like watch the
yeah,
reaction. Like,
because
what's gonna
you know
happen
usually
here?
they'll if we get to the point of dinner, they know I'm in the beauty business, but you know that's all the
Right.
kind of and then as
And then they're like,
conversation
shit, she
evolves,
has sexual
yeah,
standards.
yeah,
That's got to scare a lot of men, just based on my anecdotal evidence.
it does and it doesn't, you know. So they're
Fascinates them. Yeah,
interested. That's the
men
thing.
have
They
an
always, I think,
endless confidence.
yeah, I think they think they're in for a good night. You know what I mean? Because wow, this way we're going. And I'm not
They
that
probably
person.
are, right?
Well, I can sit and talk about it with them all night, and we can get to a lot of ground covered and solve a lot of problems. So it's always fun, for sure.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think as long as, it's about me. So as long as you get off on that, we're going to have a good night.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's a 50-50 split. That's what I hear from the straight community.
Yeah.
Some men like really like, my little sister, I shouldn't talk about her, but when I was, she was young and I was teaching her about sex and what to expect. And I was like, you will be able to tell the difference right away between a man who's interested in whether or not this is good for you and a man who's only interested in whether it's good for him. And if you get the latter, fucking run.
Right.
It doesn't get better. They don't you could tell when they kiss you,
Right.
whether or not it was about them or it was about you.
Right.
And it ought to be about you. Those other men, I guess they deserve girlfriends, but not me and my friends.
And that's what's so great about somatics as well, because, when you start off slow, you know what I mean? You can weed out then straight away who's along for the ride or who's, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
I love that.
Yeah.
Would you marry again?
I never say never to anything, so I don't know if I'd marry again. I don't think I feel the need to be married again necessarily, because I wouldn't be having kids again. So, I'd be quite happy to be partnered and maybe living together, but without necessarily going through the vows of marriage. But maybe.
Are you monogamous?
Yeah, I'm single, so I'm monogamous to myself right now. But yes, I do.
In a relationship, you're about monogamy.
I am.
Yeah.
I think it leads to a better, more fulfilling experience than, you know what I mean? I rather build on that than just have multiple partners.
Yes.
I think it's more fulfilling to be monogamous.
I always think about that. I am fascinated by not so much polyamory. I think most of those people are narcissists, but polygamy, people that marry multiple people. I have a friend that has 2 husbands, and my as honest to God thought as a woman who keeps another woman is, who has the time? It takes everything I have to satisfy one single woman. When I see somebody having 3 or 4, I'm like, either you've got 3 or 4 very unfulfilled women in your life, or you don't sleep. How could you possibly keep up with that?
Yeah.
I was watching Seeking Sister Wives the other day, which is one of these shows where they polygamous people. And there's one group, they've got to be some sort of Hindu, because they wear bindis, and there's some sort of, there's a religious component to their polygamy. Anyway, there always is. But they're the more fascinating, because the Mormons, I've seen so many of the Mormons, which I don't think has a lot to do with sex. Has Christianity component. But anyway, the women went on a 21-day special diet to make sure that their pHs would match before they started sleeping with the same person. And I was like, that's smart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You never hear people talk about that. But if you are sharing partners, you do have to, even if you're not having sex with another woman, but your man is having sex with 2 different women, you do have to make sure that the pHs are matching. Otherwise, you're just going to be in this cycle. Right?
Yeah.
They'd all have to use the same lube, too.
Lube, exactly.
To keep the pH right.
pH.
All right, let me get one more question. Tell us about the first thing that comes to mind when I say, what was your lucky break?
I guess my lucky break was when I moved to America and really just kind of got to start working with fabulous people and seeing a side of life that I didn't know existed, you know. Coming over to the States as a very young person in my early 20s, and then knowing that I wanted to work on photo shoots and getting that break when the first stylist hired me to be her assistant. I think that's when my life changed, and being on set and seeing how it really goes, you know, that was a very memorable time and a very lucky time for me in my career. So,
do you feel like, sometimes I wonder, because we're basically all Catholic, right? Like we all, at least me and most of my friends, like we all grew up like Irish Catholic. And is it worse? Like, do you think that there's like a joke in Catholicism that women are particularly oppressed, right? Like that's like common knowledge, like, oh, she's Catholic, you know, like it's like an especially oppressive sexually oppressive culture for women. Do you think now that you work with women of all different religions, do you think that we are particularly like generationally repressed?
yeah, I thought it was just Catholics, but the more women I talked to, I realized, wow, they've got their own stuff to deal with as well. That's coming from religion. So I think in general, it's religion. You know, it's all very kind of keeping us down and creating a mold that we're supposed to adhere to, the, you know, the beliefs and everything. So I think it transverses a lot across a lot of religions.
Yeah, the shame,
Yeah,
all of that.
yeah.
Like there's Protestant shame too.
Not so much with Protestant and some of the other Christian religions, but definitely some of the, you know, whether it's Judaism or Hindu or Muslim or, you know.
Yeah, they all have
There's a
ways
lot.
of like
Yeah,
telling women to
yeah.
be ashamed or to
Yeah,
be
because it's the role the woman
overly
plays.
modest.
You know, it's
Yeah.
the role that the woman plays in these worlds that, you know, kind of keeps her very much in her box, right? You know,
Right.
so
There's like a designated purpose,
yeah,
right? That
yeah.
we're
And
supposed
if
to
you kind of
fulfill or
step
live out.
outside it or have too much of an opinion or too loud of a voice, you know, you're getting in trouble one way or the other. So I think it kind of carries across a lot of religions. Um, Definitely Catholic guilt is a thing, but you know, even there's less Catholics going to mass and kind of we're speaking out about it now. You know, we're not allowing ourselves to be bossed around by the church, which is a good
Yeah.
thing, you know.
When I really lost it for Jesus was I was like probably 15 and I was in a youth group, you know,
Okay.
youth groups, right?
Yeah.
And we were all like partying for Jesus on some like Tuesday night or whatever. And the youth pastor came in and he started like giving a little, we were praying, right? And we're all praying. And he goes on this long diatribe about the young ladies here, keeping ourselves chaste and safe from spoiling our virginity and all of this stuff. And I'm sitting there and I'm like waiting for him to bring up the 50% of the people in the room that are men and going like, is it, what about, but Jamie too, right? Like, what about, I mean, he should probably keep it in his pants as well, right? And he just like, amen, like ends it. And I was sitting there like, how come just us? Like, how come we have to protect our vaginas at all costs? And there is no responsibility to the other half of this room. And I never went back to that youth group. I never went back to church. I was just like, wait a second. This is bullshit.
Was that in West Tisbury?
No, this was in Ashland. I was still a Christian then.
You continued on? Oh my God.
I did. I persevered for Jesus, but
Wow.
his messengers were too sexist for me. I mean, there are religions where they tell men to, you see those creepy men on where they're like their first kisses at the altar, and you're like, oh my God, can't wait to have this woman in therapy someday. But like it's a one-sided conversation in a lot of religions about like women should be afraid of their bodies and be protecting their bodies and be scared of their sexual urges. And then they're like, boys will be boys. Well, like go to confession.
I always say it's like, men try to control women because they can't control themselves. You know what I mean? So that's the reality, that they tell us what to do because they can't trust or control themselves.
Right.
So,
like even the uniforms, right? Don't show your shoulders. The men will just lose it.
Right.
Lose it.
Exactly.
If they see your knees, it's over.
Yeah.
Oh my God. These are the people supposed to be running the world.
I know.
But if they see my knees,
if there was more women leaders, we'd be in a much happier, healthier world, for sure.
We'd never be able to build the Hoover Dam if women just were out here with their knees showing willy-nilly. Never be able to focus.
Exactly.
Oh my God, this was so much fun, Orla. Thank you so much.
Fun.
Talk to you ladies all day. Thank you both so much.
Thank you for sharing, for
Not
sending
at
us
all.
this amazing stuff.
Yeah, tell people where they can get this stuff.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And how to follow you.
iLubify.com. And I'd love to give your audience 20% with just saying iLubify 20. And that will give them 20% off. So iLubify 20 will get 20% off their order. So
Awesome.
That's amazing. Thank you. Oh, there was one little kind of quick story that I wanted to share because we talk about synchronicity so much on this podcast. And how I met Orla was such a little synchronicity moment because I think maybe in like September or October, I was at some fundraiser event and Sean had put a bunch of, tickets into the raffle baskets and won me this gigantic basket of Lash Star Beauty products, like heated eyelash curlers, lashes, mascaras, everything. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then, I don't know, maybe like a month later, I met Orla at a party and she told me what she did. And I'm like, what? I just won your basket of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, that
was so fun. Like you were in the consciousness before you came, but how funny. I love those little things.
Yeah, we instantly clicked. Thank you.
We did. And then we got, it got loud and it got like, I ended up leaving, I think, before I could say goodbye to you. But we also had multiple other connections. Like we knew multiple other people in common. So I like how these little chance meetings happen and, you run with it.
Thank you. And then just
And say something serious.
I was going to say
It's all about women empowerment.
I was going to say from watching your podcast so much, I feel that Erin's like a soul sister. I just could listen to your chat all day. But I'm just I'm all about helping women just be themselves. Own it.
Yeah, feel good.
Yeah.
You deserve it.
Look after yourself first, right?
Yeah.
So,
And anybody who's not on board can take the exit. It's a woman's world. The rest of you just living in it.
Yeah, for sure. Brilliant.
Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
All right. Mwah.
Bye.
Good to see you.
Bye.
Bye.